thank you, Michael, for that very elaborate response to the question. And I think you've also been able to speak through the numerous pillars for circularity. I think you've spoken about keeping materials at their highest value when you're reusing or recycling or whatever it is that you've chosen. You've also spoken about the health issues to do with circularity. And you've also touched upon legislation. And of course, you've also touched upon the biodiversity that we need to protect or even restore while we are doing or using materials. And in a way, you spoke heavily about legislation and policy, and this makes me invite Mr. Augustine Kenduiwo. Of course, I wanted to open it up for a few questions, but allow me now just to straight away go to Mr. Augustine Kenduiwo, and then we will get a couple of 2 or 3 questions, and then maybe Faith can come on and respond to a question which we have for her. So when it comes to that, I just want to pose this question to Mr. Augustine Kenduiwo. Augustine, the Kenya government has put in place frameworks for transitioning the country to green growth and a circular economy pathway. You spoke about that. So what are these frameworks and how adequate are they, Augustine?
Yes, John, thank you very much. I hope my internet will not give me some problems. I hope I'll be able to be heard throughout the session. But nonetheless, thank you very much. As I said earlier on, my name is Augustine Kenduiwo. And John, actually, something very important. Unless we have good policies and regulations that can transition a country towards shifting towards the green and circular economy, it will become very difficult to even imagine how to start. Nonetheless, the government of Kenya recognizes the fact that it is very beneficial for us to transition towards green and circular economy in our businesses. Because one, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 recognizes that our economy is natural resource based, and therefore these natural resource based are limited, and unless we take care of them in a more efficient manner, then our economy as a country can crumble. So because of that, the government has recognized the need to ensure that we become more efficient in terms of resource use. So actually this brings us now to what have we done as a government. Even after the Constitution 2010 has highlighted the fact that we need to really preserve our natural resources. So in the year 2014, the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources then, which is currently the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, together with UNEP, commissioned a study to see are there benefits if this country could be steered towards low carbon development pathway. And during that time in 2014, a report actually was developed, which is a Green Economy Assessment Report of 2014, which stipulated that there is a lot of benefits if this country could transition towards green and circular economy. So it recommended that there is need to develop a strategy to guide the players within the country in transitioning. So a document was developed, and that is a very popular document called GGEP. I know quite a number of participants might have come across them, across the book. The policy document is Green Economy Strategy and Implementation Plan. This Green Economy Strategy and Implementation Plan has identified 5 thematic areas which can transition this country towards a low carbon development pathway or green and circular economy pathway. So the first thematic area identified is promoting sustainable infrastructure. So I think John and colleagues, you must have had a lot happening within the transport sector. You've heard about bus rapid transport, the PRT system. You've had a lot happening in agriculture infrastructure, in terms of climate smart agriculture, in terms of greening the agriculture transformation strategy document. And you've also had a lot happening in the water sector, you've had a lot happening in the energy sector, you've had a lot happening in the building sector. All these were identified under the GGEP document under thematic area number 1. Thematic area number 2 is about building resilience. Again, we realize as a country that climate change is having a tall order in terms of our development agenda. So as a government, we developed this document and identified areas where we are supposed to build resilience, both resilience of the people towards climate change impacts and also resilience of the economy itself. Then under thematic area number 3 of this document is talking about sustainable natural resource management. Now here we've identified as a government that there is need to first of all to increase our tree cover or our forest cover, and we have developed a strategy. It's called for a tree cover strategy, which aims at increasing our tree cover to 10%, from current around 7% to around 10%. So this is something that is currently ongoing within the ministry, and we are encouraging other stakeholders to participate in increasing our tree cover percentage. So there's a strategy towards that. And then, of course, we are also working towards developing a document called Water Tower Management Strategy. So this document will support the counties to ensure that the counties that surround the water towers, to ensure that they manage their water tower very well. So that one was identified under thematic area number 3. And then if you go to thematic area number 4, which is very popular, and that is the resource efficiency. Sustainable, it's called promoting resource efficiency. Now, this resource efficiency, if you read that document and go to strategic objective 4.3, where we're managing waste as a resource, a lot is currently ongoing. For example, in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, through an engagement with the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, that is KEPSA, and Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we've been able, and many other stakeholders, we have been able to develop our first sustainable solid waste management policy and bill, an electronic waste management strategy. These documents have already been approved by the cabinet. The first cabinet, that's the committee of the cabinet committee on development and implementation, chaired by Honorable Matiang'i. That one has already been, at that stage it has already been approved. Now it's waiting for the full cabinet. Once it's endorsed by the full cabinet, it goes to Parliament. And I think this is a document that that really talks about circularity a lot. So we are trying to now change the way we are disposing our waste from the linear kind of model, which has just been discussed by some speakers ahead of me, into circularity. And that is something that already even the private sector have started engaging in. Actually, this document, although it has not gone through the process and be made into law, for us, our happiness is from the fact that there's a lot of enthusiasm from the wider population and private sector and the public sector to implement the policy and the bill. Although it has not gone through the final stages, you can see a lot of segregation at waste, a lot of circularity in terms of waste management, circular economy coming in terms of plastics, and many other things like that. So already, we have also developed an action plan with Nairobi Metropolitan Service in order to assist Nairobi County to manage their waste. So there's an action plan, which again, as a ministry, we are going to roll out within the Nairobi City County, and we are going to support the Nairobi City County to implement the plan. Aside from that, if you go to, then again, around issues of waste management, there is something called extended producer responsibility. I know it is known by quite a number of people who are well-versed with circular economy that EPR, or extended producer responsibility, is key in ensuring that we take ownership of whatever produce that we produce. So here, what we are talking about as a ministry is we are engaging the private sector, that is KEPSA and CAM, plus other stakeholders, as we develop the regulations towards that. Already, we are currently working on the legal aspects of the EPR regulations, and we've gotten a lot of comments from stakeholders. Now we are inputting the comments, and then from there we take the we take the regulations forward. So that is currently what we are doing under that. You've had the ministry spearheading the single-use plastics. We ban already, we've already banned. If you are in the airport, you hear, before you land, you hear that if you are having your plastic polythene, plastic papers, please ensure that it should not find their way to the country. So because we've already banned, and we are working very closely with the private sector. For one, if there is one country in this world that really embraces the private sector, I think it is the government of Kenya. We really value the private sector, and we don't do anything unless we engage properly with the private sector and find solutions together. So we really value the private sector through KEPSA and also through CAM in terms of manufacturing, and we are working well. We are working very well with them. So there are quite a number of documents that we are developing as a ministry and also as a country. I know various sectors like agriculture, they are developing their policies towards sustainable development, towards circular economy, transport the same, energy in terms of renewable energy, building, housing. They're also doing a lot in terms of resource use efficiency, developing green buildings and things like that. Now, there's something that Mr. Michael Koech mentioned when he was speaking about the demand. The demand on green and circular products. As a government, what we have done is currently we are working on a document, a policy document called Green Public Procurement Framework. We are coming up with a green public procurement framework because we thought as a government, we really do a lot of procurement, we do a lot of purchasing. And if as a government we go towards green, purchasing green, then we are likely to create a demand for the green products. And therefore we are likely to increase the switch from the normal brown products to the green products. So that is something we are developing at the moment. And we are doing it together again with private sector, we're doing it together with other stakeholders. The document has not been released yet. It is still under consultant and is going around actually getting views from holders. If they have not come to you, I know they will come to you because you have not even subjected it to, they have not finalized the draft. They're still working on it. So we realize that if we go this way as government, we are likely to trigger demand because we really procure heavy as government. And if today as government we say we can only procure environmentally friendly products and services, then I'm very sure it will trigger the manufacturers to move towards that. We will work very closely with KEP so that we identify how are we going to even standardize, what kind of standards are we going to set so that we can even do what we call eco-labeling, where we can come up with an eco-label products which can now be consumed by the public sector. So that is what we are currently doing. Again, we are working very closely with KEPSA to develop a framework that can assist, that can identify and assist the transitioning of businesses towards green. So again, that one is something that we have just issued out to a consultant. Again, he will go around and he'll try to engage with KEPSA and other stakeholders to ensure that we have a framework to transition our businesses towards green and circular economy. We are also targeting our policy makers, and we are also developing something called a green and circular economy toolkit for policymakers, so that even as they do their policies, they are able to identify the green economy and green and circular economy actions that can actually be reflected within their policies. So again, that's a toolkit that we are developing, and it will be used mainly by the policymakers to transition their policies towards green and circular economy. You've heard about green bonds. So we are working again very closely with the National Treasury to develop what we call a green bonds framework. So that again, we try and see how do we build capacities of industries to be able to access green financing to move their production towards a green and circular economy in a very easy way in terms of getting green finance to do that. So that's something that we are also working on together with the National Treasury. Recently, we worked very closely with KEPSA and we created their national business agenda. Usually they have they are currently on their third national business agenda, which is an agenda that guides how KEPSA actually undertake their activities. So we've held a discussion together through Faith in Giga, and we're able to create the document. Now we have a green national business agenda that will actually guide how private sector can actually undertake their activities in a green manner. So there's a lot that is happening within the government. There's a lot that is going on. Already the document, the GGEP document, we have already implemented. Although currently, as I'm speaking, we held a meeting with the World Bank on Tuesday, and there's a program that is coming. It's called Financing Locally Led Climate Action, which will now go down to the counties to have an engagement with the counties to see how we can now transition this implementation on climate change up to the local level. And in this, we made sure that issues of green and circular economy find their way. And within this kind of program, we are going to now look critically on the GGEP document and be able to come up with what we call green and circular economy policy that will now guide the implementation properly on the green economy strategy and implementation plan. So those are the things that are going on. We are also engaging very well with P4G under the plastics economy, and we are open as government to identify together and come up with policies that will really shift our development agenda towards green and circular economy. It is a dear thing, a dear pathway to the government, and we are ready, and we are there to make sure that we come up with policies that will support this kind of venture. Thank you very much. I'll be able to also maybe answer a few questions that will be there going forward. Thank you so much, Michael and colleagues.
All right, thank you so much, Augustine, for that elaborate presentation as well. And I think through your presentation, you are able to respond to one question which was posed by Mr. John Wandaka, who in the chat had actually asked what are some of the hindrances to circularity. And I think you've spoken about some of the policies which are in the making that will be able to transition us to that direction. And in your presentation, I think you've also spoken about the Sustainable Waste Management Bill, still a bill, awaiting to go through the entire process. And I believe that will also be another landmark piece of legislation that can be able to help us and go the circular direction. I know it's been a while since Mr. Appert spoke, Michael spoke, and I know we still have Faith to come, but I just wanted to open it up just for a couple of minutes for two questions before I let Faith speak. So now this is the rare opportunity for you, the listeners, whoever has a question, to just pose a question to the speakers, and after that, be careful to make sure that you mute your microphone after you speak. So I'm opening it up because this is a dialogue. It's not as much as the speakers are specialists, but we also believe that you as the public, you also experience this. And when the speakers speak, obviously, they're supposed to be sharing this information so that you can be able to introspect on what they're speaking, look at what you're currently doing in your businesses or in your homes or in your communities, and see what you can be able to change or implement, or who you are able to collaborate with so that circularity becomes complete. So for that purpose, in case any one of you has a question, so please, this is the rare opportunity. I will let you unmute yourself, say your name, pose your question to one of the speakers, mute yourself, and then the speaker will be able to respond to you. So here we go. The first one, please.
Hi, John. Can I go ahead?
Hello, Peter. Good morning. Please go ahead.
Thank you, John. Thank you. First of all, let me thank John for organizing this, and I've been looking forward to joining, because circular economy is a key sector that we as the private sector, we are focusing on. So for me, after the compliment is just maybe to Mr. Augustine Kenduiwo. First of all, thanks a lot, Augustine, for always being very, very fluent in terms of your work, very committed and very fluent, and really putting to us and sharing with us what the great things that the ministry is doing, especially through CCT. But I've just have a quick look at the Ministry of Environment website and looked at when the former CS, met a delegation from Israel. Those people, there was a team that came from Israel who wanted to invest on issues of solid waste management. And the CS even mentioned that the Andorra dump site can be converted to a recreational park. So my question to Augustine is that what is the position of the national policy to guide circular economy? Is there anything that has started, or what is the progress? I know you mentioned some good work being done by the ministry, but maybe it skipped my focus, the position of the national, a legal framework to guide, because I know, the much I know is that currently there's none, and also if there's a national strategy to guide this important sector. That is to Augustine. Then to Mike Koech, who is my co-chair of climate change at KEPSA. I know Safaricom, the intensive users of ICT, that is the EEE, electrical and electronic equipment. And circular economy is a key focus that Safaricom is having. But in this process, what are the outcoming products, that Safaricom is producing that can be used by, people in the private sector? Because you see, when you recycle ICT equipment, this ICT equipment is they have some metals that can be reused in manufacturing or doing other things. And the other question to Michael Koech is in terms of, there's a lot of fake phones, fake ICT equipment that are coming into the country. And I don't know what's the agenda of Safaricom in terms of certifying that what you buy and use is of good quality. Thank you, John.
Okay, I think Augustine, you can take that.
You want me to answer straight away?
Yes, straight away, crisp, very crisp.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And thank you, Peter Olo, for asking that question. Actually, the Andorra's dump site has been really, a thorn in the flesh, both for the government of the national government and the county government of Nairobi. But Peter Olo, I know you will agree with me that sometimes some of these waste management dump sites are not very easy things that you can just walk in and start implementing something unless you have a strategy. So basically, as you said, we are actually developing a strategy to see how we could address the issue of the Andorra dump site. One, many investors have come, and what they are actually, their designs is to convert the waste in Andorra into energy through incineration. There's a lot of talk that we have held, and we have really tried to see the pros and cons of turning the waste into the energy through incineration. And we have been asking ourselves, this waste in Andorra, if we put up an incinerator, actually this waste will be consumed within a very short time. What will happen to the incinerator? Where will we get the waste now to burn, to continuously burn? Is there a better way of addressing the issue of Andorra other than incineration? So there are many investors who have come, but most of the time they come through issues of converting the Andorra dump site into an energy producing site through incineration, which has not been very, very popular within the green and circular economy proponents. So I think that is one area where that's why we have not done much there. Currently, as I said in my talk, I talked about us engaging with the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, and we've already developed an action plan to implement waste management within the Nairobi County. And one of the discussion now will be how do we address the issue of Andorra? So it is something that will be done in collaboration with the Nairobi City County, together with the NMS, that's the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, and the Ministry of Environment. So when we reach there, we have not started yet, but when we reach there, I can assure you we are likely to come up with a strategy that will now address the issue of the Andorra dump site. Thank you very much.
Okay, Michael,
thank you,
you have a minute.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Michael,
Augustine.
you have a minute to respond to Peter's question about the number of fake phones which are coming in. And maybe just to supplement that particular question is that, when you have inferior products coming into the market, they get spoiled very quickly and they generate waste materials also very quickly. So if we don't have a concrete solution for that particular material, we keep on piling it up very quickly. And I think electronic and electrical products have been the biggest culprits. So Michael, if you may respond to that. I know I won't give you so much time, a couple of minutes. Please respond to that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John. And thank you, Peter, for your question. And because of time, I'll go straight into the first product. What are some of the outcoming products from our electronic waste? So, as you may, for Safaricom, the biggest focus for now is being an ICT company, is the mobile phones. You might be aware that we have about 36 million, gadgets in the country at the moment, phones only, and the technology keeps on changing. So what we've done for electronic waste is we've identified a partner to do recycling on our behalf, and we've been working together and supporting the partner. So when you want to bring in your phone, we've made our Safaricom shops, which are well spread across the country, to be collection centers, as well as our main facilities and a few of our agents. So when you get in there, you drop your phone, and then the phone will then be picked up and then transported to a recycling facility. The phone will be clean. Of course, the data is cleaned up, and then it's dismantled into different products. So we will have plastics, you will have batteries, you have some parts that are metallic in nature, and also there are precious metals that comes out of that, including gold and copper in most cases. So all these have a home somewhere. So the metal will normally go to the metal smelters. The plastics will go to the plastic handlers. There are fantastic poles that comes out of metal. And then the precious metals, at the moment in Kenya, we don't have the technology to remove some of that. So our partner, which is the We Center, works with other partners in Europe now to sort of extract the precious metals, and then they are reused to make new equipment as well. The issue of fake phones, fake electronics, I think it's a big thing for Kenya and for the industry as well. But for us, we work with reputable organizations. So for the phones that we sell, for example, in our shops, we actually work closely with our supply chain to ensure that we work with reputable organizations. We understand their environmental credentials. We look at the product life cycle, the repairability of the material, and also the recycling once it gets into the end of life. So we, as much as possible, try and ensure that we close the loop in terms of getting the right products for our market. Of course, as Kenduiwo has said, there's a lot within the regulations once they come out that will sort of regulate the issue of fake products that are getting into the country. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael, for responding to that.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for that. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, Michael, also for responding to that question. So I think there were two questions responded to. So what I'm going to do right now is any other further questions, I will reserve them at the end, because we have our lady who is yet to speak, Madam Faith Ngigo of the New Plastics Economy Kenya coordinator. So I'd like Faith to get ready, because she has a question to respond to. And the question to Faith is, the New Plastics Economy Kenya has been at the forefront of championing for a circular approach for management of materials. What lessons have you learned, and what kind of recommendations can you give, especially if you were to touch upon the known pillars of circular economy for economic growth? So Faith, can you respond to that?
Thank you, John, for the opportunity, and I think I will try as much as possible to limit myself to to the implementation bit, because my previous speakers have really laid down the ground of what Kenya has been going through in the last, let me just say for the last couple of years, but more intensely the last 2 years, and where we are at the moment. So as I previously said, the new plastics economy is a partnership that was established to be able to find out the circular approach to solving the PET waste challenge. However, once we began the process, we realized that in Kenya, because we do not segregate our waste at source, and therefore the PET bottle is mixed up with the rest of the waste. And therefore that meant that what we tried to focus on at first as the PET bottle was a problem, became like we now dealing with a bigger problem than just a bottle. We also found ourselves in a situation where the regulatory environment currently, much as there are many documents being prepared, most of them are yet to come into fruition. And therefore the regulatory environment has been a challenge because much as you want a very clean PET, the kind of technology you're using for the recycling of the PET into filament and 3D models requires a very clean bottle. And therefore, getting that clean bottle has not been the easiest. We found ourselves in challenges of collection systems. Do we put bins in public spaces? What should be done at the household level and all that? Lucky enough, it's a time when producers were organizing themselves, and therefore they had started a voluntary producer responsibility organization, that is PETCO. And working through the journey with PETCO, we've really managed to see some of the challenges that are there within the circularity. The other big challenge has been the issue of the PET bottle by itself in its, how it is designed right now. It is not designed for reuse. Some of the materials cannot even be recycled. There are complex materials within the PET bottle. The color is a challenge. We need a clear bottle. Sometimes they are mixed up and the materials are complicated. And therefore, much as we thought we are recycling, we found ourselves faced with more complex challenges than we actually thought we were beginning with. The issue of just the technology itself. It's been a journey to find the technology in Kenya, and I must commend Discover Brands and Qtron and Tech for Trade for their tenacity for the last 2 years to set up a testing facility at Nairobi University just to test and see if a PET bottle can actually be recycled in Kenya. That's not an easy assignment, and we are just glad and happy that this week we really actually eventually recycled a PET bottle in Kenya into a filament that is very clean, that could eventually also be 3D printed. We also did not have the printers that are all over. Even if you get them globally, they will need to be customized to meet the Kenyan standard. They'll need to be customized to meet our filaments, and therefore we have found ourselves in a situation where we have to innovate the infrastructure so that it is able to do what we are looking for. One of the things that you're now currently grappling with is the issue of the market for secondary products. As Michael said it very well, we are lucky that Kiambu County has given us an opportunity, and even you have Coca-Cola giving us a platform for the same. But to be able to scale up in terms of the investment that we have put in for the last 2 years, we need a bigger market. We need consumers being able to respond to a recycled product and valuing it in the same value as a product that has been used by virgin material. So it's been a journey, but some of the lessons that we've learned are as follows. One, you need leadership and strategic thought. What I like about what you've gone so far is the understanding that, and so far Mr. Augustine has managed to speak to that very well, that why it has not been easy to solve the waste management problem in Kenya is because government was trying to solve it by itself. Private sector is on its own in its own corner, and the consumer is also not even involved. And as a result, we wouldn't find a solution. But through the Partnering for Green Growth and Global Goals platform that brought us together, government and private sector, just to speak and dialogue around this matter, we were able to align our vision, and there's now strategic leadership in the direction that we are taking. And that is part of the reason why you can hear a lot of strategies and documentation being prepared in partnership just to help us also be able to move forward. So vision and strategic alignment of minds is very important, because for me, transformation, first of all, takes place in the mind. it can't take place outside if the mind is not transformed. And therefore, I must say that Kenya, currently at the moment, both government and private sector, our mindset are transformed and we are ready for circularity. The next thing that we've learned is the issue of green production and eco-designs. As long as our production systems do not respect the issue of reuse, recyclability, refurbishment, it is hard to continue with the journey. And therefore, we need a conversation with the producers on how exactly they can be able to produce for zero waste. We've also learned the issue of shifting responsibility around waste management. For a long time, the waste management has been like, it's the responsibility of government to come and collect our waste. And therefore, citizens, we didn't feel like we were part of the problem. And even entities would feel like, I generate waste and government must come and take it in. This is changing with circularity and the issues of producer responsibility, that the responsibility is shifting across the value chain players and we all must play a part. You learned the importance of research, the importance of innovation, and the importance of just being able to derive maximum value from resources. Just thinking through about that PET bottle has been very interesting to go through it together with, I call them the boys, but I really love the innovative minds. And therefore, for them not relenting that a PET bottle can become filament, and a filament can become a flake, and a flake can become a product. You can imagine the language I'm speaking today has just been wonderful. We've also learned about the power of partnerships and collaborations. You can't do circularity alone. You must be in relationship with the next value chain player. The producer must relate with the supplier. The supplier must relate with the consumer. The consumer must relate back with the producer, and that is how the loop is closed. And then we need the government to provide for us a regulatory environment that makes it possible for us to relate. It's also been interesting just to note that the consumer behavior needs to change. Our preference of virgin materials over recycled product will have to change if indeed circularity is going to be a reality even in Kenya. And therefore, what we've also learned is that closed loops is what will make circularity work. As long as we tried collection, it wouldn't work alone. We tried recycling, it wouldn't work alone. We needed the whole loop. We needed the producers, we needed the consumers, we needed the retailers, we needed the waste pickers, we needed the waste handlers, we needed the recyclers, we needed the people who give us the products, we need the importers and the producers. We all must just be in together. But above all, again, we have learned that capacity is important. You heard us introducing ourselves and saying we are alumni of the Denmark Technical University on Green and Circular Economy. We needed to be given capacity so that we even understand what you're doing. Because at times we all speak about circular economy without really looking into the technicalities of what this is all about. And therefore, it's been interesting just to get exposed to these principles and also getting partnerships, not just in Kenya, but across the globe, beyond the boundaries of Kenya. We are connected all the way to Washington through the P4G hub. We are connected all the way to Denmark. We are connected to Chile. And that is how this partnership has managed to do what it has done. The issue of financing and capital outlay has not been an easy one. To get that infrastructure into place is not easy. We are piloting the segregation of waste at Nyayo Estate. And currently at the moment, we've only managed to do 30 courts. The rest of the courts are still waiting, even as they anticipate what needs to be done. So there's a huge infrastructure outlay that needs to be put in place, both for collection system and also for recycling and even the technology around it. However, we haven't lost faith. We are happy that we have taken this path and it's been wonderful learning the lessons. And we are committed working together with government and the rest of the partners just to ensure that Kenya indeed appreciates a circular economy. But above all is that the chain must work. For circularity to happen, then the chain must work. That's the biggest lesson, and we'll be sharing with you these lessons going forward. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you very much, Faith, for that very elaborate description about the new circular economy, the new plastics economy, and what you're currently doing. It's very elaborate and it speaks to so many things going on. And clearly what's come out is that there is the transformation of the mind, which is very necessary and key. And of course, there is also the issue to have that common vision about circularity. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we are having this call, is because we could be talking about circularity, but the way John understands circularity, the way Apit understands circularity, the way Peter understands circularity is different. So when it's different, we have different goals and different ambitions. But when you bring the two together, you see now we have one complete vision. And even if it's to go together as a team to say that this is a kind of a policy or legislation that we want in place, we know exactly what we are talking about. And that's the beauty of having this dialogue. Thank you so much, Faith, for your presentation. And I think at this point, I'd like now to open it up for comments and mostly for questions, so that our speakers can be able to respond to the questions, to your questions.